Ancient Egypt isn't just about pharaohs and golden treasures, it's a civilization that left behind mysteries so baffling that thousands of years later, we're still scratching our heads and coming up with theories that sound more like science fiction than archaeology. The deeper we dig into Egyptian history, the more questions we have. So today we're diving into the most disturbing and unexplained mysteries of ancient Egypt, starting with something that should be impossible but somehow isn't. The precision of ancient Egyptian construction makes modern engineers look like they're building with toy blocks. Take the Great Pyramid of Giza, for example. This thing was built around 4,500 years ago, yet its base is level to within just 2 centimeters. To put that in perspective, if you tried to build something that precise today, you'd need laser-guided equipment and computer-controlled machinery. But wait, it gets worse. The pyramid's orientation is so accurate that it's aligned to true north within just 3/60ths of a degree. That's more precise than the Greenwich Observatory in London, which was built in the 1800s with all the advantages of modern surveying techniques. How exactly did ancient builders achieve this level of accuracy with copper tools and rope? The math doesn't add up, and neither do the traditional explanations. Then there's the little matter of how they actually move the stones. We're not talking about your average rocks here. Some of these limestone blocks weigh as much as a school bus, and the granite blocks used in the King's Chamber weigh up to 80 tons each. The nearest granite quarry is 500 miles away in Aswan. So somehow, ancient Egyptians quarried these massive stones, transported them across hundreds of miles of desert, and then lifted them hundreds of feet into the air to place them with millimeter precision. Standard explanation involves ramps, pulleys, and thousands of workers. But here's the problem. No one has ever found evidence of ramps large enough to build the Great Pyramid. The amount of material needed for such ramps would exceed the volume of the pyramid itself. It's like saying you built a house by first building a mountain to stand on. Moving on to something even more unsettling, let's talk about the mysterious chamber recently discovered inside the Great Pyramid using cosmic ray imaging. This isn't some small hidden compartment we're talking about. It's a void roughly the size of a 200-seat airliner sitting right in the heart of the pyramid. The chamber has been sealed for over 4,000 years, and we still have no idea what's inside it or why it exists. What makes this discovery so disturbing is that it suggests the ancient Egyptians had knowledge of construction techniques that we don't fully understand. They built a massive, perfectly sealed chamber inside a pyramid without leaving any obvious access points. How do you even plan something like that? More importantly, what were they trying to hide or preserve that required such extreme measures? But the construction mysteries are just the beginning. Let's dive into something that'll really mess with your head: the ancient Egyptian understanding of human anatomy. The mummification process wasn't just about wrapping bodies in bandages and calling it a day. These people had a sophisticated understanding of human physiology that rivals modern medical knowledge in some areas. The precision of their brain removal technique, for instance, is absolutely mind-blowing. They would insert a thin bronze instrument through the nose, break through into the cranial cavity, and then somehow liquefy and remove the entire brain without damaging the skull or face. Modern neurosurgeons, with all their training and equipment, would struggle to replicate this procedure with such consistent success. Even more disturbing is their understanding of organ preservation. Each organ was removed, treated with specific chemicals, and stored in canopic jars designed to maintain the organ's integrity for thousands of years. The chemical composition of their preservation solutions is still not fully understood, but the results speak for themselves. We have mummies today that are better preserved than bodies that died just decades ago. Then there's the question of how they developed this knowledge in the first place. Medical understanding typically evolves gradually over centuries, building on previous discoveries and techniques. But Egyptian mummification appears to have reached near perfection almost immediately, with little evidence of a learning curve or experimental period. It's as if they suddenly acquired this advanced medical knowledge from somewhere else entirely. Speaking of knowledge that seems to come out of nowhere, let's examine the Egyptian understanding of astronomy. These people didn't just look up at the stars and make up stories. They created astronomical calendars that were more accurate than anything developed in Europe until the 16th century. They tracked the movement of celestial bodies with precision that wouldn't be matched for thousands of years. The sealing of the tomb of Senmut, dating back to around 1470 BCE, contains a star map so accurate that modern astronomers use it to study ancient sky patterns. But here's what's really strange. It shows constellations and star positions that would have been invisible to the naked eye from Egypt. How did they know about stars they couldn't see? The mystery deepens when you realize that many Egyptian monuments are aligned not just with visible stars, but with stellar movements that occur over periods of thousands of years. The Great Sphinx, for example, faces due east toward the constellation Leo during the spring equinox, but only during a specific period that occurred around 10,500 BCE. That's thousands of years before the Sphinx was supposedly built. This brings us to one of the most disturbing possibilities of all. What if our timeline of Egyptian civilization is completely wrong? Wrong? The evidence suggesting our timeline might be off is more than just a little unsettling. It's downright terrifying for anyone who spent their career studying ancient history. See, we've always been told that Egyptian civilization began around 3100 BCE, but archaeological discoveries keep pushing that date further and further back. And I'm not talking about finding a few extra pottery shards that are slightly older than expected. We're finding evidence of advanced engineering and astronomical knowledge that predates the supposed birth of Egyptian civilization by thousands of years. The Nabta Playa stone circle, located about 500 miles south of Cairo, is a perfect example of this timeline nightmare. This astronomical observatory was built around 7000 BCE, making it older than Stonehenge by about 2,000 years. But here's the kicker. It demonstrates the same sophisticated understanding of astronomy that we see in later Egyptian monuments. So either the Egyptians developed this knowledge twice, completely independently, or our understanding of when Egyptian civilization actually began is fundamentally flawed. But let's move on to something that'll really keep you up at night: the mysterious hieroglyphs that appear to show modern technology. Now, before you start rolling your eyes and thinking about ancient astronaut theories, hear me out. I'm not talking about blurry photos where you squint and maybe see something that looks like a helicopter if you tilt your head just right. The Abydos helicopter hieroglyphs are carved clear as day into the stone ceiling of the Seti I temple. These aren't ambiguous symbols that could be interpreted multiple ways. We're looking at detailed carvings that unmistakably resemble a helicopter, a submarine, and what appears to be some kind of aircraft. The mainstream explanation is that these are the result of overlapping hieroglyphs from different time periods, creating accidental, modern-looking shapes. But here's where that explanation falls apart. The carvings are too precise and detailed to be random overlaps. The helicopter carving, for instance, shows rotor blades, a cockpit, and even what looks like landing skids. If these really are accidental shapes created by overlapping symbols, then we're dealing with the most incredible coincidence in archaeological history. Even more disturbing are the hieroglyphs that seem to describe advanced medical procedures. Ancient Egyptian texts contain detailed descriptions of surgical operations that wouldn't be attempted by European doctors until the Renaissance. They describe procedures for setting broken bones, removing tumors, and even performing what appears to be brain surgery. The Edwin Smith Papyrus, dating back to around 1600 BCE, contains descriptions of 48 different surgical procedures, complete with detailed anatomical observations. What makes these texts so unsettling is their clinical precision. These aren't mythological stories or religious rituals. They read like modern medical textbooks, complete with case studies, treatment outcomes, and recommendations for follow-up care. The level of medical knowledge demonstrated in these texts suggests that ancient Egyptian physicians understood human anatomy in ways that we're only now beginning to appreciate. Now let's talk about something that makes absolutely no sense according to everything we know about ancient technology: the precision drilling found in Egyptian stonework. We're not talking about rough holes chiseled out with primitive tools. These are perfectly circular holes drilled into granite and other hard stones with a level of precision that's difficult to achieve, even with modern diamond-tip drill bits. The most famous example is found in the granite blocks of the Great Pyramid. These blocks contain drill holes that show clear spiral grooves, indicating that whatever tool was used rotated at high speed while applying consistent pressure. The feed rate, or how fast the drill advanced into the stone, is estimated to have been about 500 times faster than what you could achieve with copper tools. But it gets even weirder. Some of these drill holes show evidence of being drilled from both sides simultaneously, meeting perfectly in the middle. Try to wrap your head around that for a moment. Somehow, ancient Egyptian workers were able to start drilling holes from opposite sides of a stone block and have them meet with perfect alignment in the center. Even with modern surveying equipment and computer-controlled machinery, this would be considered a challenging feat. The implications of this precision drilling are staggering. Either the ancient Egyptians had access to advanced drilling technology that we don't understand, or they possess knowledge of stoneworking techniques that have been completely lost to history. Neither explanation fits comfortably with our understanding of ancient technology. Speaking of technology that shouldn't exist, let's examine the Baghdad Battery, which, while not strictly Egyptian, was found in the same general region and time period. This 2,000-year-old artifact appears to be a functioning galvanic cell, capable of producing electrical current. When modern researchers built replicas using the same materials and techniques, they successfully generated about half a volt of electricity. The disturbing question isn't whether ancient people could have built batteries. The real question is why they would have needed them. What were they powering? Some researchers have suggested that these devices might have been used for electroplating, which would explain the incredibly fine gold and silver plating found on some Egyptian artifacts. But electroplating requires not just electricity, but also a sophisticated understanding of chemistry and metallurgy. This brings us to perhaps the most unsettling mystery of all: the complete absence of certain evidence that should exist. If the ancient Egyptians really built their monuments using the methods described in mainstream archaeology, where are the tools? Where are the broken ramps? Where are the thousands of copper chisels that would have been worn down to nothing cutting through granite? Archaeological sites typically preserve evidence of the construction process. When we excavate Roman buildings, we find the tools, the construction debris, and evidence of the techniques used. But Egyptian construction sites are mysteriously clean. It's as if someone went through and carefully removed all evidence of how these monuments were actually built. The absence of this evidence is more than just puzzling, it's downright creepy. It suggests that either our understanding of ancient Egyptian construction methods is completely wrong, or that someone went to great lengths to hide the true techniques used. But who would do such a thing, and why? And why? So there you have it. We've journeyed through construction techniques that shouldn't be possible, medical knowledge that rivals modern science, astronomical precision that puts our current technology to shame, and evidence that's been mysteriously scrubbed from history. And honestly, we've barely scratched the surface of what ancient Egypt has hidden from us. The most disturbing part isn't any single mystery we've covered today. It's the pattern that emerges when you look at all of them together. Time and again, we find evidence of knowledge and capabilities that don't fit our neat little timeline of human progress. We find precision that shouldn't exist, understanding that came from nowhere, and techniques that vanished without a trace. Maybe the ancient Egyptians really were just incredibly gifted with copper tools and unlimited patience. Maybe they developed all this advanced knowledge through trial and error over centuries, and we just haven't found the evidence yet. Or maybe, just maybe, our understanding of ancient history is so fundamentally flawed that we're missing something enormous staring us right in the face. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more mysteries that can't be explained, click the video on screen now.